Welcome to your Thursday lunch break, everyone. I'm Tanya Rivero. As more women in the workforce delay having children until later in life, they are increasingly turning to the fertility industry, which now offers loans and package deals for in vitro fertilization treatments. With more details, we're joined by WSJ economics reporter Shah. Neil, thanks so much for being with us.
Sure.
Before we get into these new ways of financing, how much does an IVF treatment cost in general these days?
It's very expensive. We're looking at, like, it varies, of course,
sure.
According to the clinic that you go to, but we're looking at like $15,000 to $20,000 per IVF attempt, and often it takes more than one try. The success rate is only like around 30%, so it could be multiple attempts.
That is a tremendous amount of money. And what about insurance? It varies from state to state as to whether this is covered, correct?
It does. It varies state to state, but in large part,
it's not
covered.
Yeah.
Only about 15 states in the U.S. have any kind of fertility coverage. And I'm not even talking about IVF yet, just any kind of routine fertility drugs.
Right.
So it's not covered. Most people are not having insurance pay.
So tell us about these new financing options. Who's doing the financing? The clinics, banks, third parties?
Clinics are working with fertility finance companies to expand the options for couples so that obviously more couples can do this. One thing that's interesting that's come up in recent years is what's called shared risk plans. Instead of buying one treatment, you might buy 6, 3, or 4. You pay up for it. That can cost you $30,000 and up. You pay a lot more initially, but then the hope is that even if attempt 1 doesn't work out, the other attempts will work out.
Do you get to see any of that money back if attempt 1 does work out?
That's the risk.
Yeah.
So if you get immediately pregnant, you've left money on the table.
Right,
Instead of paying $15K, you're paying $30K. Some doctors worry that some of the clinics there's some concern that some of the clinics might be steering women that they think could get pregnant early on into these more expensive plans. But it's true, it does potentially let more people have access to these options.
Well, what relationships do the clinics have with these financing entities?
The clinics basically often a fertility finance company will be associated with kind of a network of clinics. The clinics aren't getting any kind of kickback from the fertility finance companies for referring the clients, but often the clinic can get a good special rate, say on a loan from the fertility finance company. So there is a relationship there, but it's not.
And what rates are these loans at?
It depends. It depends on the situation. Sometimes the rates are competitive. There's been some concern in situations where the rates can be kind of higher than credit card rates.
Oh, really?
And this became an issue also when the economy was really bad. Other sources of finance dried up, and there was some concern about really high rates on fertility loans.
So can you give us a sense of how many women are using fertility treatments now to get pregnant?
It's more and more. To give you a sense, about 175,000 pretty much IVF treatments, according to the latest numbers back in the late 80s. This was like it's 7-fold more than it was before. We were talking like 23,000 before. A lot more women are delaying having children. A lot more women are having their first kid between 35, 39 or later. And then many people are using the treatments.
And we should mention it's not necessarily just women delaying getting pregnant. There is an increase in male infertility as well.
Right.
So it's the combination.
Some medical professionals feel like there could be issues on the male side for a variety of reasons. The research is, we're still trying to figure out if there's some issues with male fertility and why exactly. But yeah, it's not just a female issue.
All right, Neil Shah, thank you so much for that report. We're going to take a quick